At Schoolbox, we do hear a lot about the challenges of motivating your staff in terms of the utilisation of our product and the benefits of that in the school environment. And today we're very lucky to have Phil Carew from Toorak College and Lisa as well from Hillcrest Christian College, both here in Victoria, to take us through some strategies and some methods to increasing staff engagement and motivating them to be involved. So over to you, Phil. And again, we will leave all the questions to the end, please, so that we can get through the session well. Over to you, Phil.
Hi everyone, my name is Phil Carew. I am the Head of Digital Technologies and E-Learning at Toorak College on the Mornington Peninsula, and I am here to talk to you about motivating staff and engaging staff. So we were just having a bit of a laugh saying this room is maybe not as engaging as I would like or like to think my classroom is, but if you have a look outside, that is quite engaging, quite motivating to maybe do a run, not now though, during our session, maybe afterwards. But we are going to chat about motivating staff, setting expectations for our staff, support and training, and then engagement as well. So this is our Ivy, which we call Toorak's version of Schoolbox. This is our login page here. So Toorak College is located on the Mornington Peninsula, and it is ELC to Year 4 co-educational, and then girls from 5 to 12. Just to give you a little bit of context about our school. We've got 815 students, and we are 145 years old. I think planning, as you can imagine, has already started for that 150th celebration. Our instance is called Ivy, so it is an interactive virtual environment, and this is our 6th year with Schoolbox. So I think just really importantly for me, I've been in this role for 3 to 4 years now, but the person that worked in the role before me was Jenny Luca, who works at Wesley, and I thought having this opportunity by Schoolbox to speak today, I just really wanted to make note of the amazing work that Jenny Luca did do in the role before I stepped into it. As we know, Jenny, if you know Jenny, she's amazing. I'm so very lucky to have had her as a mentor at Toorak, so I wanted to give her the kudos because it is definitely well deserved. Here is our staff and parent dashboard. So at the top is our staff dashboard. This is on the homepage for our staff to connect to. And then we have our parent dashboard as well. So I'll be honest at the moment and tell you when I worked with our marketing team over the Christmas break to put these together, Megan and I, especially the parent tiles, it looks much better than it used to be. It used to be 4 tiles. It was very basic. And now we've got those direct links. And I thought, this is so engaging, right? Keyword engaging. This is really exciting. Parents will love it. And then I actually, at an Adobe PD not long ago, caught up with Michelle from Strathcona. I'm not sure if anyone's seen her LinkedIn post or what she has put through as her engagement piece and their new tiles for Strathcona as well. So when she showed me those tiles, I wanted to contact Schoolbox and say, maybe Michelle should step in for me, but I didn't, of course. I wanted to be on the stage. So next year, Michelle for sure, but if you haven't checked her tiles out, find her. I know she's here somewhere. Find her and chat to her about her tiles as well that are mobile responsive. So there's 3 key components that we look at Toorak. So for our staff, we want to make sure that there are clear expectations and that there's actual structure in the way that we ask our staff to upload content to their pages. We want consistency and a common language to make sure that we're all on the same page, and we want there to be engagement and increased staff use. So I'm going to go through those 3 key areas and how we help to develop them. So we've talked a lot about why, especially this morning, but we need to let our staff know why. So staff have every right, of course, and I'm sure you've all heard staff, students as well, ask why. Why am I doing this? Why do we have Ivy? Why do I need to upload my content? Why do our pages have to have set components? Why do we need consistency? Phil, why are you such a control freak? Please stop, you're killing me. I imagine, these are what I imagine they're saying. And then also, why do we have to do any of this, of course? So I like to say to the, I nearly called them students, to the staff, communication, collaboration and consistency is what we are all about. So we want to look at those 3 C's, not the 5 C's, as our, I guess, our main point of where we will aim to motivate our staff. Heap of text up here, but it's just really important for the staff. Staff need to see a purpose and understand how the system works. So they need to see a purpose in what we're doing, but they also need to see the student view, they need to see the parent view, and they need to actually see those different views, because as a teacher, you don't see the parent view. Unless you are admin, you can impersonate, but as a teacher, you can't log in and see that parent view. So I found that's been really powerful, I guess, for staff to actually see that from the other context. We need to know staff pain points, and that's a really big one. We've found, we've just rolled out partial care, not new, but new for us this year, and we found that was a real pain point for staff. So we were using another system, and we were doing head of year notes, and it was really quite messy, and then we finally made that move to partial care. So looking at those pain points for our Director of Sport, looking at fixtures and how that can solve that. So we want to support staff and make sure that, the pain points they have, we can implement, I guess, some Schoolbox strategies to support them. This is a really big one that I'm sure some of you will do. If not, I would love for you to consider it. But staff need time and support to actually populate their pages. We've found that this has been really successful, and we've kind of done it in an informal way in the past. So we would have, on the first 2 days back after Christmas break, we might have, 3 hours of faculty time. And then in that faculty time, it would be time to work on your Ivy Schoolbox pages. But what we've changed now, and this has started at the start of last year, we've just set 2 hours at the start of semester 1, 2 hours at the start of semester 2. And this wasn't just a case of saying, okay, everyone, 2 hours, go do your pages. It was, we set up workshops, and that allowed me to run some more, I guess, advanced sessions with staff, but then it also allowed me to empower other staff who I know are doing some great things with Ivy. So then I could empower them in the ELC, Year 5 teachers, Year 10 teachers. I could empower them to run some workshops themselves. So I might have someone running a workshop on banners, someone on tiles, someone on embedding files. But that worked really well. So then the staff had that 2 hours, they could go. And the best thing about that was we gave them the time, which then meant they were accountable. So we said, you have this 2 hours, so by the first day, students' first day back, that content needs to be uploaded. So that worked really well for us. Staff are motivated and love the fact they don't need to recreate the wheel every year, and we utilise tiles to do this, but that they can link back to that previous faculty page tile, and then they can make amendments as needed. But that's been really successful for us. And then we've also been able to utilise those tiles to build on staff collaboration as well. So as I said before, we have clear expectations. This might be a little tricky to read, but we have at the start of each year, we have a staff handbook, and that is released to all staff, and this is one of the pages of that staff handbook. So we have Wattle House. So Wattle House is our ELC to Year 6, and then we have the senior school from 7 to 12, and we have these set expectations, and these were reviewed at the end of last year. These are the non-negotiables that need to be on the page for the student first day back. So you can see I added a little tick box because, it's always rewarding to give yourself a little tick here. But what I did is I set up and I created a little group at Toorak of staff that were working on our ICT e-learning with our ICT e-learning committee, and we created these expectations. So we have, of course, a welcome message to the students or parents if you're in the junior school. We have key items such as slideshows, or we have due work for senior school. Then we have some news components, year level information, tiles, class lists and banners. So this is, I know, you know all of this. This isn't anything new, but what I found was really encouraging for staff was for them to have this list in front of them. It wasn't online, it wasn't on a system where they had this in front and they could just cross it off or highlight it when they completed it for each subject. So not innovative at all, possibly the opposite, right? Like I'm printing out paper checklists. I know, it's not great. Anyway, what I did though, and this was quite hilarious, we changed our class template. So the class template used to just have, I think, files, news and text box, I think. So we created that. So in admin, you can create what your homepage class looks like. So for us, we wanted a banner at the top, we wanted due work on the top right, news on the top left, and tiles above the news. So what I was able to do in the back end was create those expectations so they were set. So when the staff member went into their page, that was what they saw straight away. I purposely added the class list component, so staff went in, and then when we rolled over, it would have the class list populated. So staff were really excited, as you can imagine, when they saw their class list was there, and that was also on the to-do list, and they got to tick that. They're like, Phil, you've made a mistake. No, I clearly put that there so you had one win against the other 6, right? It's a little secret that I've shared with over 100 people, so sorry, staff. Clear expectations, they are on our IV support page here. We have step-by-step guides on the right, and then a range of videos. And I think it was mentioned earlier this morning, I think maybe Clancy mentioned it, that there's a range of amazing support resources from Schoolbox, but I think sometimes when it's your context, it's good to recreate them yourself so staff can see it in your instance. So I'm doing the tutorials from Ivy, I'm doing the tutorials in my class page, and I think that also as well does give you a bit of street cred when you are in this type of position, but you are creating class, you have classes as well. So this has been quite successful. This one's quite scary, and I actually went to a session a while ago about an automated audit process. I think there was some sort of relation between Power BI. If you're using that automated audit process, please let me know, maybe later this afternoon. I'll buy you a drink. But we go through and work through the audits for all of our staff. So that list I showed you before with the expectations, this is what senior school has to add to their page, and then by week 2, I work with the heads of faculty, heads of department, to go through and check this off. So this is the English faculty, beautiful. And then we have our Wattle House, so you can see some of the red, and then, there's always links to this. So maybe there might be Year 4, there was a new Year 4 teacher. So then this tells me, instead of going and meeting with every year level at the start of each year, I'll go in and then I can see this, and then I can plan my one-on-one PD with that staff member. So we only put this in halfway through last year. So as I said, we're in our 6th year, and it took us that long to put this in because we wanted to make the staff accountable and make what needed to be on the pages non-negotiable. So I think when I presented to our whole staff about this, you can imagine chairs thrown, there were walls set on fire and all of that. It's actually what I imagined would happen, but it was really fine. But this then sets the expectation. Now this is just at the start of each semester, this is what happens. So at the start of this year, everyone knew that this was going to happen, and we were able to just get it done, and we didn't need that full 2 hours setup time, even though you find staff do get the setup completed over the holidays, but there are some that don't. So this is just that other way we can support staff. A few points for engagement. So staff do like that it's the one-stop shop. They can go in and they have access to all of their resources there. Staff like that there are set expectations, but they still have a scope to be creative as well. We utilise tiles, as Clancy talked about this morning. We really utilise tiles to make sure that all of our, say, Year 7 English teachers all have, Year 7 students all have access to those same Year 7 resources. So it is very individualised in the way that a 7A teacher may have a different page to the 7B teacher, but the content is, the resources that they are accessing is all the same, and that's really important. And something I think, being in our 6th year, there's a lot of things we're doing that I think, I wish we were doing this earlier, but now we're moving forward, and these areas are working quite well. With our parents, we now have one central platform for communication, so we've done quite a bit of work on communication, especially with Digistorm, but we used to have on Friday afternoon, music would send an email, sport would send an email, I don't know, maybe like catering department would send an email, physical resources would send an email, I'd send an email. It was just email free for all. 3:30 would hit and everyone would be sending emails to our community, and we wanted to remove that from happening. So we just have now one email that comes out, and it has just images that link to the different pages. So there'll be an image that links to junior school, senior school, music, and all of those other pages as well. So that's worked quite well to increase parent engagement, and then students, of course. So this at the top we can see is junior school and senior school engagement. So green is the parent. You can see around the 7th, there wasn't much happening. I'm not sure the parent that was on a few parents that were on maybe the 3rd of January, but you can see the parents spiked around when we were releasing this. So we release it every Wednesday, so the 4th of Feb, and then I think the 12th as well. So you can see those spikes when parents are logging in. So we can see that, especially compared back to, say, November, the previous year, that was really quite minimal. I'm going to skip that. So support and training for our teachers. We do online supports through our ICT at TC page. We link a lot of those support pages to the Schoolbox help page. I do run small group workshops and faculty support as well. So I've sourced, I guess, one key staff member from different faculties, and they are our support. And then we run teach meets as well once a term. So not just for Schoolbox, but a range of different tech tools. This is our IT help page. That's me on the top left, as you can tell. Very IT crowd inspired. And then you can just see we have all of our resources here at the bottom. These are our links to our different tiles to our resource pages. Then when you get in, you can see, as I showed before, your introduction, your step-by-step guides, your screencasts as well. But I think just, really importantly is setting up this has then allowed staff to actually engage, because they can just find everything with a few steps. So they go in here and they can go through those different resources to do this themselves. So they are feeling more empowered to complete their work on Schoolbox. This is a view of staff use. You can see the spike on the 27th of January, right? Staff were in there the day before we started back. And that very flatlined over December, Christmas time. I'm surprised by that. But I just wanted to show that spike, which is showing that it is working. But really all I want to leave you with is staff need to have a purpose. They need to be given time to actually create this, and they need to be given the support as well. So I'm sure nothing new, but I hope maybe you were able to take something away from this presentation. I'll be around later if you want to have a chat about any of the processes that we are running. But thank you for your time. Enjoy the rest of the conference.
Perfectly timed, Phil. Thank you. Perfect. Lisa, over to you. Thank you.
All right, at your tables, what I want you to do is, in 2 words, describe to the person next to you the level of staff engagement in Schoolbox at your school. All right. 2 words shouldn't take that long. My name's Lisa Dumicich. I'm the Head of Learning and Teaching at Hillcrest Christian College in Clyde North, which is in the southeastern suburbs of Melbourne. And today I'm going to take you through a selection of strategies that have both worked and those that haven't worked to motivate and engage staff. I've been using Schoolbox for 4 years, a couple at my current school and at my previous school, and I've had 19 years of introducing IT systems of all different types to teachers. So I've done some stuff that's been amazing and some stuff that's just been terrible. So I thought I'd share some wisdom around this with you. So put your hand up if in the last, say, 24 hours, you've either said you're busy or someone has said that they're busy to you. Yeah, we're busy. Teachers are really busy, and we're never caught up, and we've got a million things going on in our head, but teachers are the absolute backbone to any success that you're going to have in your school with Schoolbox. And pardon me if I say Schoolbox or I say Crest Connect, we call it Crest Connect at Hillcrest. So it means the same thing. So they're really busy, and engaging them is really the key to being successful in your use of Schoolbox. So we want to make sure that what we're doing is really good and we're not wasting their time, because teachers hate having their time wasted. All right, so one of the most important strategies is support from the top down. Your leaders need to be people who are leading from the front. You can't just buy a Schoolbox, set it loose and let it happen and expect staff to be engaged. The leaders need to be supporting from the top, and I think that's one of the real keys and foundations to really good staff engagement. If staff see that it's serious and that the people at the top are saying, yes, you need to be doing this, then that sets the tone for the rest of the school, and it does make, if you're a person that's supporting teachers, it does make your job a lot easier. So that's one of the key things that I've seen I've been in schools where it's been supportive, I've been in schools where it hasn't, and it's 100% better if it is support from the top leadership. All right, so we at my current school, we started using Schoolbox and then realised probably about a year in that we needed to do some more training. So we purchased the teacher training course, and that was actually a really good way to get our staff from we had a really mixed level of people engaging with it and skill development with it to a level playing field as such with our staff. And we didn't just expect our staff to do it. I forgot to bring them up. We made it into a bit of fun. We created these little, you can see, this is our mascot. His name is Clyde. Clyde, we have made a full body suit. So he comes to all of the primary assemblies and he comes to our market night, all sorts of different things. I pity the person that has to wear Clyde because it's a very sweaty suit. But we also have, soft toys. He goes into classrooms. But we made little badges of Clyde as a hero. We created certificates, and whenever someone completed a course, we had a bit of a celebration. They got their certificate, they got their Clyde badge, and it just became a bit of a thing that we did. If you want a sample of a Clyde badge, I've got some up the front, so you can come and grab one at the end of the presentation. I also encourage staff to be heroes, but I didn't put a lot of emphasis on that. So we've got a couple of staff that are Schoolbox heroes. That's when you complete the training course and you get 100%. We made a massive fuss over those staff. And in hindsight, I probably would have pushed more staff to do that because those staff are now absolutely invaluable because of their level of engagement because, they walk around going, we're heroes. New staff, we also put through the Schoolbox Training course. Now, we've got an interesting system. We have an afternoon tea for all of our new staff in the November before they start at the school in the start of the new year. We give them their logins to Crest Connect and to their email, but we also give them their login to their Schoolbox Training. And we then, between that afternoon tea and the end of the year, they also get handed their laptop before they start. So we expect our new staff to finish the Schoolbox Training or get a long way through the Schoolbox teacher training before they start. Because for us, we do everything. We mark our roles, we do our pastoral care, all of our assessments, everything is done on Crest Connect. So they have to be ready to go from day one. So that's worked generally well. We still do have some staff that turn up on day one and haven't done any training, so that is then a bit of a conversation. What I'd like to do in the future is then really narrow down exactly what they need to do because it is a bit overwhelming doing the whole training to start off with. What are the exact skills that you need for day one and make sure that those skills are done and completed. Also really important having go-to people, staff who are champions, who love it, who are happy to have people ask them questions. Having people that have time allowances is also really important. I, in my dream world, would have a Crest Connect person that was full-time running it for our school. That would be amazing, and I'm a bit jealous of those schools that do have that. That would be really incredible. But it's really important to have those people on staff who are really trained up, really engaged, who are willing to help those that need extra help. The other thing that's really motivating for staff is having a specific project rather than releasing everything on them all at once with Schoolbox, is to pick something like continuous reporting or getting your course pages done, or we're going to use it for news and communication. But just having something that's really specific, that's got tangible deadlines that they can fully engage in and that they have to get done. As soon as you have to do something, teachers will engage. If it's a bit nebulous and it's a bit, we're just sort of having a go and seeing what happens, people tend to not engage because, going back to the fact that they are really busy. So a specific project and a specific thing you're working on is really important. I've always found that works incredibly well. All right, my favourite thing to do, had an IT manager a couple of schools ago, Lisa, you've got to burn the bridges, burn the bridges. I think that's a really important thing. You've got to take away the old way of doing things so they only have the Schoolbox way to do things. And that is really important. It's hard, people complain, parents complain, all sorts of things like that. But it's the best way to get things moving forward. Don't let people ever go backwards. Now, this is a really interesting one. I thought about this on the train on the way in. We've been having a few conversations in our secondary because we use it Schoolbox quite extensively in our secondary for continuous reporting. And what we've noticed with some staff is that they are still doing everything in their old way, even though I just said burn the bridges, but they're still marking paper essays and putting lots of feedback on it and keeping a paper chronicle and then putting all of their marks and feedback on to Crest Connect and then saying, well, it's too busy, it's too much, it's double up. What? I think it's really important to help teachers remove layers. So either specifically as a whole, say, right, we're introducing Schoolbox, but we're taking this away from you so you don't have to do any more, so we're freeing up time, or being really explicit in your professional development to help teachers develop really efficient systems, teaching them how to use the online grader and how to move away from doubling things up and being efficient and effective in their processes. I think that's a really important thing that sometimes when you're used to using IT a lot, when you're used to using systems, you just assume that all teachers are doing that and they're not necessarily doing it. So it's good to have that explicit training on how to be efficient in your processes in the work that they do. Regular updates is really obvious, and I think doing it in all sorts of different ways. 10 minutes at a meeting, having a big training session, having pages on your Schoolbox instance, as many different ways as you can communicate that message of updating for skills, do that. I think that's a really important thing to do, and just keep it constant, keep it in teachers' minds all the time. And I've got a saying, say it until you're really bored of it. And when you're bored of it, people are then just getting it. So you need to keep repeating and not just assuming, hey, I've said it once, now everyone's doing it. I think that's a really important one as well. And differentiated training, this is something that has worked incredibly well, which is allowing staff to self-select their training. Some staff are ready to go and they don't even really need training, they want to be able to play and experiment. Other staff needs their hands held and are just like, oh my gosh, how do I do this? And there's, you've got your range of staff in between. I think it's important to let staff select their training groups in the way that they do their training, but I think it's really important to choose who trains them. With your staff who are if you've got staff who are in the, oh my gosh, panic stage, it's really good not to put one of your IT gurus training them. Put someone that's just above them they feel comfortable to ask questions. They're not going to feel silly because they've got this IT guru that they feel, whoa. You can bring that person in later, but I think that initial training is really important to use people who are just above. The other thing that we found really effective is having different teacher voice as well. Previous school, we got a teacher up to talk about Schoolbox, and this was a typically IT reluctant teacher who had actually made a real effort to learn Schoolbox and had done it really well. And she got up and spoke to the staff about what she'd done, and at the end of it, she could get away with saying, look, I've done it, now you guys can do it too. And everyone took it and everyone accepted it, whereas if I'd gotten up and said something like that, I probably would have been stoned or ran out of town or something like that. So it's really good to have different teacher voice talking and speaking into the teacher space. All right, I'm going to give you, hopefully, a few minutes at your tables. What I want you to do is just have a quick discussion about what is working for you at your school in engaging staff, or ask some questions from the people on the table, your table, to find out what they're doing and see what works for them. Okay, quick discussion. right, I hate to interrupt a productive discussion, but what we're going to do now is I've got two lovely gentlemen on roaming mics. And is there any tables that would like to volunteer to talk about what they were talking about? What are some things that have worked? Anything that you've heard that is great at your tables?
Should we dob someone in?
I reckon we should dob someone in.
We have a volunteer.
Excellent. I love a volunteer. Oh, did we win the paper tower? Oh.
We were just discussing the importance of having leadership team members who lead it and get on board and actually know how to use it. And we're just discussing that we've got mixed experiences of that and the difference that it makes.
Yep, huge difference. Can't emphasise it. If you're a leader in the room, please get behind it.
Anyone else?
Anyone? Any other volunteers? The question was, what were you talking about at your table? Was there anything interesting, anything you'd like to add? Any comments?
Something that worked for us this week at Wesley College was getting our heads of faculty and leaders, getting them on their spares and in a room and addressing any concerns they have. We've launched this year and trying to get them on board with some of the processes and building courses and units and getting them on board before launching with staff next week. And meeting with them once a cycle so we can address things before their teams come to them with lots of questions.
That's fantastic. So leadership voice, teacher voice in there. That's brilliant. Well done. Anyone else discuss anything fantastic at your table? Not even fantastic? Great. Here's one here.
I'll just share quickly what we've been doing to really get our staff engaged. I didn't actually mention it to these guys, but we introduced prizes for the staff reaching certain levels of training and skill level, and one of those prizes is basically like Woolies gift vouchers towards their groceries for the week and stuff like that, which is really simple, but it seems to have worked.
Yep,
so.
That's really fantastic and healthy as well. So well done, that's great.
One more.
Oh, and there's one down here.
I thought it was a good idea to get staff to experience from a student point of view to hand in a submission in a due work. So I've got a group of about 15 champs, and I did it as a wine tasting after school one day.
I'm coming to your school.
But then we did it as a chocolate tasting for all the staff first day back, and I thought that the idea was to sort of break down a bit of a perception that might be all too difficult, but if they could see how easy it was from the student point of view, and then I could show from the teacher point of view how that worked, that seemed to be pretty successful. Yeah, that's really great. It's because that is one of the first questions that teachers have when they first get introduced is, what does it look like for students? So that's great. And I'm coming to have next time you do the wine thing, I'm there.
Look, for us, the big change really came with just setting clarity about what we're doing and why we're doing it, and balancing empathy for the teachers with commitment to what we're actually trying to achieve. So what you said about get rid of the old way, that's something that's really stood for us, was make sure that we're bringing the staff on board and just saying this is what we're doing, this is why we're doing it, that's when it's going live, or that's when it's getting done, and then really sticking to guns but making sure staff are supported and reminded the whole way through. Yep, fantastic, that's great. That's okay, thank you.
Sorry, down the back.
Sorry, one more question. Not thank you. Hello.
Just like what the gentleman just before said about getting the students on board. I'm primary, and my students write the class blog, so training the students up to train the parents up, help with parent engagement, and the parents want to get on and see what the students have added in photos, so getting them more involved help with that.
That's great, and then teachers don't want to have a page that obviously students and parents are really involved with that looks a bit crummy. So that's fantastic. That's a really good way to do it. Once you start getting results up there too, students start really pushing it. The other thing that we've found is that when there's teachers that aren't quick on putting on feedback or don't quite have pages up to speed, we find that parents complain about those teachers a lot more than parents who are seeing really good pages and results going up really quickly. It's a very interesting correlation that's happening at our place at the moment with that. So, very good.
I think that's it.
Excellent, thank you.
Fantastic. Let me run to the stage. Phil, would you like to join us on the stage, please? And question and answer time for Lisa and Phil on any of what was shared or anything else in regards to staff engagement. There's one right here, Emery. Thank you.
This is just a question for Phil. You talked about the non-negotiables for the pages, and I just wondered what process you went through to get to what those non-negotiables were.
Yeah, we had a lot of discussion with our heads of faculty. So there was always a set of expectations, and I thought that they needed to be reviewed of what we made staff put on their pages. So with our primary school team leaders and our senior school heads of department, we sat down and said, do you think this works? What needs to go? So we were able to rewrite those expectations, and then with the support of the new principal, we were able to work through and say that this is a standard that the staff need to meet, and a lot of them exceed that. So that's like the bare minimum, but that is the non-negotiable that they need to put together.
Do we have any more hands? Tough session after lunch. Blood sitting in the tummy.
I'm so sorry, I forgot your name.
Lisa.
You're talking about burning bridges. One of the experiences that I struggled with is that we've been trying to use Schoolbox and our mobile app for a communication tool and make it a one place for communication, because we were just spamming parents left, right and centre, and there was different means of communication. But the challenge that I had was getting the engagement through the app and through the marketing that we did to use the communication tool. And then when we came to inviting through that app, through Schoolbox, parents to an event, and then half of them didn't turn up because they didn't know about it. It became one of those catch-22. So I've got a principal who still wants to mass email our community, but then we're trying to have this engagement through our Schoolbox instance and the app. Is there any strategies you've got around that?
Yeah, we're currently working through that at the moment, because we do a lot of mass spamming with emails. Casual dress day, it will come out from the whole school, from the primary and from the secondary, and so some parents are getting like the same thing 3 times. So we're currently working through that process at the moment, and we understand, I guess we recognise that that is going to happen for a while until parents get the idea that actually all of the communication is coming out in the app. One of the things that we're trialling, which seems to be working, is all of the communication is going to come out at 2:30 in the afternoon, so parents in the car park know. You're sitting in the car, you're looking at your phone, you're looking at Facebook, you look up the Hillcrest app, and because all of the news will actually be there by then. So that's one of the things we're talking about. Hopefully that will address it, but I think it is just time and persistence. No easy answer, sorry.
Hello. This could be a question for either of you, and in fact it probably could be one that the Schoolbox people might like to address as well, and it's to do with the perhaps the latest trends in the use of the teacher training modules that Schoolbox provide, whether they are planning to be updated, what the use is. Obviously, you've told us, sorry, what's your name again?
Lisa.
Lisa, that your school has prevalently used them, but Phil, you haven't really mentioned, but I'd be keen to know from both of you, and then just a short update from the Schoolbox people, perhaps. Thank you.
Great. So we use the courses for all new staff. So I think it's Unit 1 to 4. When new staff come in, as part of their induction, we actually sit and they will go through those courses. So we find it works really well onboarding new staff. For our current staff, it was quite tricky because we're in our 6th year. When the courses came out, a lot of the staff were already using the system. But when the new course came out, we were able to get a few staff in there. But I think we'll be looking at prizes as well and how we can get staff on board using them. But definitely it's not mandated. We have the course, but we don't force staff to do them, except new staff. So, yeah.
One of the things that we had to do to the Schoolbox course too was you can now split it up and make sub-courses. So we made a course for the primary teachers with relevant information for them, secondary teachers and admin staff. Because they needed to know some of the things as well in the course, and we found that's helped as well.
As for the teacher course future, unfortunately I can't really answer that for you. A different department. Probably the best person to speak to would be Dwayne, the head of professional services. He's, I believe, he would be the best person to ask about that.
Yeah, guys, we recognise that the teacher course needs a little bit of work and updating, and part of our fantastic part about our attitude towards our product as it continues to evolve. We do find it pretty hard to keep up with updating that as per our updates. So that is something that we are looking at. As we talk now, Mr. Dwayne Cox, the head of our professional services team, walks into the building. Dwayne, the question is the teacher course, in terms of the updating of that and the use of that with the new updates that we have. How are we keeping that relevant, and what is the sort of general uptake at the moment?
Awesome. All right, so in regards to the course, the content that sits behind it, the assessment items, anytime that there is a content change within Schoolbox, so a release changes, we actually go and change all the documentation at the time that that happens. Our aim is to have it done by the time that beta goes out, but the developers are pretty good at releasing new features during the beta period, so that doesn't necessarily happen. In regards to the assessment items, mainly the quizzes, at the bottom of your teacher course, what you'll actually find is an area called updates. So anytime that there are updates and specific things, we actually go and deploy a quiz to test on what those particular updates are and how well your students have maintained them. As we start to see some dramatic changes, news is a perfect example. When news dramatically changed, the resources were easy to change, but the assessment items not so much. We had an option of just going and deleting the quiz, but I'm guessing your staff would not necessarily have been the happiest about that. In regards to further developments and further assessments and further supporting items, there are plans in place to release as much content and as much as we can do to support the implementation across a year. So whether it be the teacher course, whether it be, we're supporting administrators, whether we're supporting executive teams, marketing teams, we're trying to look at how we can do that efficiently. I hope that answers the question. If it doesn't, come find me outside and we can talk more about it.
Well, we got him here. Anything else on the teacher? Thanks, Dwayne. Appreciate that. Any other questions, guys? We have a few more minutes before afternoon tea.
Can I just ask you both about resourcing and how you say that you give your staff support and you give some staff time in lieu or time off from teaching to support other staff, but what other staff do you have to run your instance?
So we have an e-learning coordinator who has some time to do it. We have an IT manager and an IT department that do run things, and then the teachers pretty much. So I would love a person. And I wish my boss was here. I'll show him the YouTube clip. Please make sure you film this. So, so that's what we've got.
And then we're quite similar. We have our IT department that do a lot of the back end, sync and all of that. But then as far as training how to actually use Schoolbox, that's myself. And then I also teach Year 11 and 12 media and Year 7 tech. So I do have a teaching allotment. So sometimes I'll find, staff have a question and will, want that answer straight away. But when I'm teaching, I kind of have my Wednesdays as that Schoolbox day. But there's no one in, say, like the primary or senior alone for that.
If there's no other questions, we might just wrap it up. Last chance. I think that's it. Thank you so much. Very informative and lots of notes taken, lots of photographs taken. Thank you so much for your time, for everything you do for Schoolbox and in the community, but also for your input today. I really appreciate it. Thanks, Phil.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa.